Oh hey YouTube, how's it going? So what this video is about is I'd like to collaborate with you guys in creating a new dresser for my room. What I'm going to show you is a detailed drawing that I sketched up here on my pad. I'm also going to include measurements. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include on this video all the parts that I have available to make the project. There are going to be a few givens in the design itself because again, I have to be able to fit it in my house and I have to work with the wood that I have in the shop. The main areas where you guys will have input is mostly in material selection, some joinery techniques, choices, and the big one would be the design for the feet of the dresser itself. So again, we have a lot of flexibility. What I'd like to do is today is go over kind of what I'm looking for, and then how would you submit your ideas to me either on YouTube or other platforms when it comes to this challenge. What I am going to include is a parts list of what I do have with thickness, width, length, wood type, and then a video with exactly what does each of those parts look like so far. Then what we're going to do is once we get past the design phase, right? So what we're going to do is draw up your dresser, include your parts, obviously label what wood you were using, and foot designs. Once you've drawn them up and you submitted them, then we're going to move to the next phase, which is lumber selection. So basically we're going to go through and pick out the pieces that we want, discuss why we chose that and why we put that part there, and then again just start getting into the actual creation process. Some of you will have to write out the process for me more. My apprentices will have to write out specifically what to do and how to do it specifically, but for the rest of you guys who are interested in jumping into this project because you have nothing else to do, I'm looking for all and any input on this project. So what I have drawn here is my detailed drawing of the project I had asked you guys to help me do some drawings in. So when it comes to doing sketching, all right, so whether it be freehand, on paper, in a CAD software, or whether it be Mastercam, AutoCAD, SketchUp, again, you should, for the sake of communication, so this is visual communication, you should use as little information as possible, because again, when you inundate your project with measurements all over the place, you end up confusing either the person who's designing, the person who's building your project, or you confuse yourself later down the line. So again, from my experience working in drafting at a manufacturing company, what I have noticed is that, again, there are redundant measurements. So you don't need measurements plastered everywhere because, again, you need to assume that your information is clear. You don't want to overexpress that information. So for an example, you don't need to put .32 inches down here, because again, if this space is 32 inches, this should be 32 inches. If this is 14 3/4, this should be 14 3/4. If this is 32, this should be 32. Now, what I zoomed in on my drawing here is the front view. And this is where the bulk of the information is going to be, because again, most of the stuff that we're going to build we'll see on the front here. So on my x-axis, all right, I'm going to have a shelf, center shelf across the whole entire dresser that's at 16 inches. All right, on the x-axis, it's going to be a total of 81 inches with one 32-inch shelf space, one 14 3/4 shelf space, and another 32. All right, now we're going to refer to parts real quick that are not going to change. So the plywood parts that I'm going to list later in this video are referring to 1, 2, 3, 4 side pieces, 2 shelves, and a top and a bottom. Now, this piece here is going to be one that's up for you guys to help design because it's going to be a solid wood shelf. Every other part that I've just discussed is going to be out of plywood. Now, there will be an edge banding, so a piece of wood will cover all of these surfaces. What it's going to be is either going to be oak or mahogany, so you guys get to chime in on that. The one thing I didn't cite in this picture here is I didn't put the feet on this dresser. So again, this design is going to be 100% up to you guys. Now I'm going to zoom out for a quick second and go to the side. So the information you can see on the side here is, again, you're not going to see much except for the information of how tall it's going to be. All right, and then let's move up to the front view and zoom in. So from the top view, the only information that we really need to express here is how wide is the project, because from the front, I can't see that width. So right here, that's the only piece of information I need to express. And from the front to the back, it's going to be 22.5 inches to fit the specs. Special information is that the top and bottom plywood material is 3/4 thick. The difference is on the side and shelves material, the plywood is 9/16 of an inch thick. All right, so that is something important to note when you're working with other people, or if you're drawing out plans for someone else to build. You need to state that there's a difference between the materials. Now, there's a lot more information I can express here, but just for the sake of starting this project, all right, this is the majority of the critical information we need to express. So what I'm going to add to this video is all the parts laid out on the floor, all right, along with the edge banding and the shelf material. Now, when it comes to the feet, there are going to be a lot of leeway to what you guys could do. Obviously, I don't want the feet to be, 12 inches long, all right? We're looking somewhere in the realm of 3 to 6 inches to raise this off the floor enough that it looks nice, but not so much that it looks like it's on stilts. Now, one other thing I'm going to add real quick is in carpentry, we don't have to put tolerances and we don't have to put decimals. In engineering, you are going to have to put most of your values in a American standard decimal formation with a tolerance afterwards of what range it could be in. So it can be plus or minus 0.002 or so on. Depending on what industry standard you're working with, normally this would be included with every single measure. Since we're working with wood, these precise tolerances are not as important. All right, but if you are interested in getting into drafting itself, you need to learn how to apply these to your drawings. So with that, let's continue the video. One additional thing I'm going to add is all you need to do freehand sketching, all right, you don't need any programs, you just need a notepad or a graph paper or printer paper, a nice ruler. Now, mine is an engineering ruler. So it allows me to draw in different scales, right? But you also could use any combination square that has a difference in scale. So why are scales important? Well, if you want to make a project to the exact shape and size that you desire, making it in a smaller scale will allow you to draw it in exactly the right spacing mathematically so that parts fit, all right? You can't just freehand sketch everything without any measurements and no math and expect it to come out nice. So these are very handy to have around, all right? The other things I like to draw with are just standard color pencils. I use a mechanical pencil mostly for doing my drawings because I find that the tips are a lot more accurate and precise as I'm drawing my lines. I can also use a black pen or a Sharpie to write out important information. Obviously, you need your handy dandy eraser. And most important, calculator. When you're doing drawings, all right, you are going to have to do some geometrical math equations, all right, surface area, measurement, quantity, volume, all that jazz. It's always handy to have a graphing calculator to do that stuff. Because again, what's nice about these calculators is I can convert decimals into fractions, which are handy Because again, if you're not working with decimals every day like you are, like a machinist or an engineer is, it's very hard to just understand what the decimal number is. So again, using one of these is very handy. So these are the parts for the dresser build I want you guys to help me out with. So over there are the top and bottom plywood pieces that are 8 feet long. I'll include the rest of the parts in thickness, width, and length in the post. Here's your sides and shelves. So these are the given parts. All right, so these must be used for the main construction. So 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, 2 shelves. All right. Now, in addition to that, we also have mahogany for edge banding and a piece of oak. Now the oak is the only one that's 8 feet long. The longest mahogany strip is 7, so I'd have to shrink those sides down. Now over here, I need to make one more additional shelf, and I wanted to do it out of a hardwood. So I got mostly oak for the shelf, and I can edge band it with a piece of cherry if I wish. All right. When it comes to feet, though, that's where I really want some input. I got red oak blocks, cherry blocks, which all can be turned or cut on the bandsaw at a custom size, some reclaimed walnut, and some white cedar. All right. Now, again, the designs will vary based on what you guys want to do. So again, the sky's the limit. The only given is, again, I need the top and bottom, 2 side pieces, 2 interior plywood shelves with 2 interior shelf supports, and a solid wood center shelf. The edge banding, though, can be either oak or mahogany. All right. Finally, the one that you have the most creative freedom is the legs. All right. So when it comes to the legs, you can come up with any design, and what we'll do as a class is we'll decide which one we want to go with. All right. So again, we can do turned, we can do custom cuts, I can do routed legs. All right. Let's see what we can do.